I am very excited for this episode because Kaleigh is such a fantastic baker. She is honestly one of the most talented and skilled decorators I think I've ever seen. And sometimes I feel like when I see a cake that's really pretty, it doesn't taste so awesome. But I'll tell you what, Kaleigh checks all the boxes. The cake is amazing. The decorations are fantastic. She even did some cupcakes and some cakes for when we did the Dungeons and Donations charity stream when we did the live event. She brought cupcakes and they were so freaking amazing, and I'm really excited that I got to talk to her because her and I have been friends for a long time, but I've never really sat down and talked to her about why she was so passionate about baking. And it was so cool to learn her strategies, her techniques, and kind of her history of what landed her to opening up her own bakery. She owns the Sugar Blossom Cake Shop in the village of Liverpool, and let me tell you, that place is awesome. They do custom orders, they do cupcakes, cakes, anything that is delicious in cake, she makes. So I hope you enjoy this episode with my friend Kaleigh.
So my name is Kaleigh Ligoci. I'm the owner and pastry chef of Sugar Blossom Cake Shop in Liverpool. Yeah.
How long have you had that shop for?
So we opened December 3rd of 2020.
Oh wow, nice. And what was it that made you want to open your own bakery?
So I mean, since I had gone to school and worked at a bunch of different bakeries, I've always wanted kind of my own thing where I could have my own style and we could offer like really pretty, like over the top things that we like to create.
So from to where you are now, how did you get into baking? Did you go to school for something like that?
Yeah, so I went to Alfred State College and graduated in 2009. So they have a program for baking and production management there. And that's kind of where I got my start.
Was there something that really like hooked you into wanting to bake?
I really like the artistic side of it. You kind of get to be creative and fun and do different things. It's not like the same thing day in and day out. So that's what really appealed to me, I think.
When you go from where did you work before you had your own shop?
So after I graduated school, I went and worked at Mario's Bakery in North Syracuse. So just a little
Nice.
Italian bakery. I worked there until 2011, and then I went to Turning Stone. And so I started off kind of just being a baker and working all the stations there, and then I ended up doing the wedding cakes there. So I did
Whoa.
the wedding cakes for like 4 or 5 years for all of their different venues, and it was crazy. It was an amazing experience because we got to do so many different things and like over the top cakes that I don't get to do a lot of now because a lot of the stuff I do now is a little smaller.
Mm.
And then after there, I went and worked at Sugar and Company downtown, which was a dessert and wine bar, and that was really neat because I got to do something a little different than I was used to and do plated desserts that were pretty and artistic, but in a different way. And then I worked at Half Moon Bakery before we opened our own shop.
That's cool. You say artistic, and when I look at what you do on like your Instagram, I mean, we've been friends since this frisbee, right? Ultimate frisbee days when
Yeah,
we all
yeah.
played together. So like following you on Instagram and watching like all those, it is very artistic. Those cakes, you have to be artistic to make those.
You definitely have to be creative, to come up with the different designs and do. I mean, there's a million different things you can do and what people want, so it's fun.
Are you kind of like a perfectionist?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely am very centered and focused on like details and making sure everything's perfect, and I stress over and over different things. So,
When you were at Turning Stone, what was like the largest project you had to do?
oh, well, our bridal shows were always really big projects. So we would do a couple different display cakes and then like dessert bars of different items that might be a little more cutting edge or more fun, and that people could come in and sample and be like, "Oh, wow, like this, you can offer this here," and all of that.
That's cool, and you got to, like, learn a lot of techniques you think more working, or did you learn a lot of what you know from schooling?
So you definitely learn a lot more in the field. I feel like schooling is a great base to start with. It kind of gets your feet wet and you get a feel for what the industry is like, but you don't really learn like a lot of the finer tuned details until you're out and into the industry and like really like into the thick of it and how you have to like be creative and detail oriented, but also like time conscious as well.
Right, right. Is that a big part of like baking is just the time management?
Yeah, it definitely is, because we wanna be able to, like, make a good amount of cakes, but also we want each one to get its detail and all of the what makes it special. So,
Right, right. Especially with your artistic touch on all of them. Like making
yeah.
sure that they look good. That's got to be super important.
Oh, yeah,
Do you
definitely.
do you have like a did you have like a mentor when you first got in the field, like somebody that really taught you a lot?
So when I started working at Mario's, I worked with, like, cake decorator Linda, she taught me a lot there. And then at Turning Stone, there was an amazing cake decorator, Megan. I didn't get to work with her quite as much as I would have liked to, but I saw kind of the things that she did and learning the techniques that she used was a huge part of like what got me into like the wedding cakes. And we use Italian buttercream for those, and it's like a completely different process where we're like frosting the cakes and chilling them and then scraping them down again to get like a nice sharp edge.
Oh, that's how you get that sharp edge, is you chill it
Yeah.
first.
Yep.
Gotcha, gotcha. You know, when people say baking, there's a couple different facets of baking, right? Like you have like the breads and the sweets.
Yep.
Is do you obviously you like to do the sweets, but do you also like dabble with breads and stuff like that?
So breads definitely are not my thing. They're a
Yeah.
completely different like beast when it comes to that. I can do like macaroons and brownies and cupcakes and all the fun like pastries. But breads I definitely am not well versed in.
Yeah, that seems like bread seems to be a lot of patience. It seems like get everything and then wait,
Yep. That's
whether
not
you're
my strong
proofing
suit.
it or baking it or doing something, you know.
Yep.
So, when you had opened up your own business, was it really about wanting to kind of like do your own thing? That was really the reason why you wanted to open your own place.
Yeah, I wanted to be able to create a brand and to create the items that we put out there and have it be like the style and the aesthetic that I really wanted.
When you say like create a brand, how did you come up with that idea? Like, how did you come up with the feel?
So for us, we wanted things that were gonna be, like, really pretty. So really pink and glittery and gold and, like, highly embellished and kind of like our macaroons are kind of our staple as one of the decorations on our cakes and sprinkles, stuff like that. So we took, like, a color scheme, I guess, and a feel and then went with that.
Right, right. Because like when I look at like your Instagram or your website, it definitely does have like a feel to it. It feels like that's a part of your guys' personality.
Yeah, definitely. We wanted to kinda have everything be cohesive and, like, when you walk in, you kinda know what you're gonna get. Like, you're gonna see a case that's just beautiful and everything kind of pops and stands out.
Yeah, speaking of case, I brought Ashton, my son, today, and I'm sorry, but I think he pushed his lips up against the window and smeared everything on that nice, beautiful case of yours.
I feel like that's to be expected with a glass case.
When you made your brand, did you have like other people that were helping? Are you solo or do you have a business partner?
So when we initially started, I built the business with Lauren. She is amazing. She is pretty much more of like the baking side of things. We did end up kind of not splitting, but I bought the remainder of the business from her this year and became sole owner.
Nice.
She just didn't really like the business side of things, and she really loves and has a passion for baking, but she just kind of she's there. She's a manager now, and
Right.
so she still works with us.
Yeah,
But
some
now
people
I'm
like
sole owner.
yeah, they like to get their hands dirty and there's some people who just don't want to deal with like all that paperwork.
Yeah, and it's a lot of like paperwork and organization and stuff like that, which I equally enjoy. So I don't know, I love it.
How do you stay organized with everything?
We take all of our orders via email. That way I can keep everything kind of written down and I can refer back to it and stuff like that. And then like just like lists. I love lists and
Mm.
organization and stuff like that. So
When you say like organized, is even like the stations that you when you guys are like prepping the cakes and the macaroons, like do you guys have stations that are prepped with stuff ready to go?
Yep. So typically the day before we'll prep out, like when we make macaroons, we'll scale out the eggs and the dry ingredients and stuff like that. So when we come in, the station's set up with the burner and all the sugar, and then we pull out our eggs and the dry, and then we go from there. So we're like immediately jumping into it.
How do you figure out the menu? Like, are your flavors of macaroons like constantly flipping through, or do you have like the same 9 that you stick with or 8 that you like?
So we have a full menu on the website, but what goes in the case is typically dependent on what we do for orders.
Mm,
So if someone orders like a dozen cake batter and a dozen raspberry, then we'll make those and also make extra for the case to sell. And that's pretty much goes for all of the items. Any cupcakes, we'll make almond cupcakes and then make extra for the case that day and go that way.
do you find like balancing between being in the bakery and then doing all the like the emails and the paperwork? Do you find that like do you have that perfect balance?
It's never a perfect balance. I feel like a lot of times I'll be in the bakery, so I won't get to emails as much as I would like to. I do try to do my emails like Mondays and Tuesdays because we're closed. I'm
Mm,
I say I'm off, but I'm always doing something. So we try to do those, and then like I'll keep up on emails probably until like Thursday, and then on the weekends it's kind of just you're in the bakery, you're making cakes, and that's like the primary thing.
right.
So
Right. And how man, it just seems like there's just so many moving parts, especially when you're running your business, running it, trying to make sure everything's stocked and make sure you have all the ingredients and everything. Do you like lean on you say Lauren, the
yeah.
manager, to help you out with that?
So oh, yeah, she definitely does. She's a huge help. She pretty much kind of dictates what happens for production, and honestly, the whole team is a huge help. Like, anytime we're using something, if someone sees the sugar's low, we write it on a board, and then so that kind of accumulates through the week, so then when we go to order from our distributor, we know what we're ordering, we double check on stuff, but yeah, Lauren helps a lot with, like, organization, ordering, and kinda keeping us running as well.
Do you think like I would say I think a better way to ask this question is do you think the people that work there and the environment, do you feel like you got the perfect mix?
I feel like we are a great mix. I love my team. They are awesome, and I love watching them grow and teaching them stuff, and they take initiative, and they know what they're doing, and they're always trying to help out, and I'm beyond grateful for the team that we have. They're awesome.
That's awesome. And how do you find people to work at the bakery? Are they usually friends or are they people that you met through school or connections?
So it's a little bit of everything. I met Shawn Michael back when I was working at Mario's. And then he kind of worked a couple different places, and then he ended up coming and working with us, which was really awesome. And I worked with Tasha at Turning Stone. She also went to Alfred State where I went, so that was kind of cool to hire
Oh,
someone who
cool.
was from the same college. And like Shawn Michael went to Paul Smith's, like Lauren did. So that was also really neat to kind of have alumni with us. And
Yeah,
then
all the
our sorry.
no, no, I was just gonna say everybody from Alfred, right?
Yeah, Alfred and then Paul Smith, so
Oh, nice, nice.
and then
Sorry, keep going. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
we've got one girl who works out front, who does, like, the counter and waits on everyone, and, she bakes at home, and she loves it, and so we've started to bring her in the back and teach her, and she's incredibly talented. So that's really neat to see too, to kinda help someone grow who, like, has a passion for it, and I don't know.
That's cool. You like when you were you're talking about her and training her, like you lit up. You lit up like a candle. Like it was cool. Like you were just like super do you love teaching people baking techniques?
I do. I think it's really neat. Sometimes it's, like, difficult because I'm, like, a hands-on person, so I'll try to, like, explain it, but I have to be like, "Here, let me show you." I feel like I'm a little invasive sometimes, but it's really, like, nice to see like, I've had such a passion for it, and I always wanted a mentor and someone who could teach me and who was excited to see me, like, progress, so I love being able to do that for my staff.
That's cool. Do you ever see yourself like teaching in front of a classroom or maybe you already have?
No, that actually terrifies me. Public speaking, anything like this too is like not really my thing. Um, but like when I'm in small groups, I love it. Maybe someday teaching like a really small flower class for like our gum paste flowers, that would be neat.
What is a gum paste? What is that?
So gum paste is kind of like a sugar dough, which is similar in texture to clay. And we use them to make flowers on some of our wedding cakes, and they're literally like built petal by petal. So they'll like roll out a petal and like texture it and then like layer on, and then you build them to get this huge, beautiful flower that's like really
Whoa.
lifelike.
Whoa, that's cool. See, it's like all these cool techniques. Like I don't like it's just such a whole nother world when it comes to baking because I'm a god awful baker. I'm terrible when it comes to baking, but when it like comes to like chicken and sautéing stuff and whipping it, like I can find my way around a kitchen. But when it comes to baking, God no, I can't do it. I just can't do it.
Baking is a little different. I love cooking too, but not the same way.
Yeah, it's do you find it's almost like a meditation for you when you're baking?
If it's if I'm like really in the groove, yeah, like you're kind of just going and you're just vibing off of what you're doing, and it's really nice.
Well, especially when you are such a planner and someone comes to you with like a big wedding cake order, is it usually you that does the planning, the baking, and the assembling of everything?
So I definitely help with the planning. So I primarily am the contact for like a wedding. So I'll take their orders and then we'll go through payment and doing the tasting and all of that. Right now we're doing take home tasting boxes, which is a little different, but it still works. But then my team, so like we write out like the bake list and then Lauren typically bakes stuff and sometimes like the rest of the team will too, depending on if it's like cookies or macaroons, things like that. And then a lot of times they help assemble or build the cake, but I'm the one doing the finishing work. So the frosting, the decorating, stuff like that.
And that's your meditative state right there when you're like
Yes.
frost, you're like in the zone.
Yeah.
Do you like listen to music when you're like focusing on it,
No,
or is it
music
just
actually
silence?
kind of, yeah. I'm
Really?
like someone who loves quiet.
Mm.
Um, just, I don't know. It's different though. If I'm there and I'm alone and I have like my AirPods in, that then I can listen to music. But if it's like on and then everyone's talking and moving around, it's like,
It's too much.
it's too much.
When when somebody's in the kitchen and I'm making dinner, I'm like, "Please get the hell out of the kitchen. Let me cook." Like, I don't wanna run into people when I'm cook so I can't imagine when you have, like, your back room and you got, like, 4 people also trying to do things. That's gotta be so frustrating. At least for me, I could already feel it.
I feel like I'm used to it unless I'm like really stressed. I'm pretty good at dealing with it.
Yeah. When you say really stressed, is that, like, when wedding season comes around and you're just trying to bang out all these cakes?
Yeah, and just because, like, sometimes if I'm not really used to doing a certain technique or I'm trying something new and it's not going the way I wanted to, or sometimes it's so humid that, like, the frosting acts a little funny, and then I kinda just get, like, wound up and I'm like, "Okay, I don't know how to fix this, I don't know how to do this," and we eventually work through it and it's fine, but
Right. Well, that's I think that comes back to having, like, a good team, a good, like, support system that you guys have, like, a good it's almost like a yin and yang, and I use this a lot when I because when I worked at Runnings, I was assistant manager, and I had Judy, who was, the other assistant manager, and she was so good with HR and, like, all the paperwork, and I was really good at, like, merchandising and getting people, like, involved on the floor more. So it was, like it was nice because we worked really well together because she was strong on my weaknesses and vice versa, and it sounds like that's kinda what you have there.
yeah, I feel like we all work really well together and everyone kind of picks up where they can and helps and we all make it happen. And I mean, the holidays, like I watched each holiday, like us get better and better and kind of like streamline the process and the menu. Cause like sometimes we have too many different moving parts on a menu that's just too drastic. But then like if you kind of streamline everything, you make them similar and everyone can help out and do the decoration and all of that. It's great.
And I mentioned, like, wedding season. Do you have, like, a busy season? Is, like, that May, June, July, like, super slam for you guys?
It changes every year.
Oh, wow.
The past couple of years that I've been in the industry, fall has been huge.
Huh.
But this year it seems like that May and June are really big, and then we're like pretty busy in September too. but it's not. It used to be like September and October were loaded. Like just everyone
I
was
wonder
getting
what it
married
is.
then. The heat in the summer makes it really hard, I think, for weddings, especially up here because it is humid. So we tend not to get as many July and August weddings. But 2020 or 2022 is just crazy because everyone's trying to get married because everything got pushed off last
Yep.
year. So this year's nuts every month. But
Right.
typically, the fall weddings here are more desirable. You've got the pretty leaves and the temperatures are pretty good and
Right.
that whole.
Right. And so if I come to you with like a cake order, how does the process go from like start to finish?
So typically I'll ask, all right, like, what are they looking for how many people are they feeding? That's the first thing, because then we know the
Uh
size of the cake.
10.
10? Okay, so you're gonna go for a 6-inch cake, which is just like a single tier, and then you pick flavors. So you do the flavor
Mm.
of cake and the flavor of fillings. And
Funfetti cake.
funfetti cake, so funfetti filling, that's like a cream cheese, vanilla bean buttercream.
Look at like you are just like rattling this off time. I'm so impressed. Yes, I will do that filling for sure.
All right, and then a vanilla buttercream on the outside.
Obviously.
And then what kind of decoration?
Oh, right. Decoration's the important part. I I will say the when we did the Dungeon Dragons event and you had like the D20 decorations, that was amazing. That was so cool. Like you guys can literally do any theme.
Yeah, anything. And like sometimes we use chocolate molds and like cast those, and that's really nice. And then sometimes we make handmade decorations where we're cutting things out like from a template, or we're just doing flowers, like buttercream flowers, or even the gum paste ones are fresh. It depends on the theme.
Have you ever did like chocolate and molding?
So yeah, I used to do so we did chocolate in school, and then I got to do a little bit of chocolate at Turning Stone where we're like tempering and doing everything.
Mm.
We tend to use like a pre-tempered chocolate at the shop that like sets up. You don't have to like temper it, but and that works well for molds. We make all of our own chocolate garnishes. So
Oh, you make all your own stuff? The
yeah, so
garnishes?
anything like the little flowers and stuff like that that are on the cupcakes, we make them.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay, so I got sidetracked for a second. So we got our decorations on the cake. Then what do you do after that?
And then we just kind of discuss like the date and the pickup time. Well, I guess we start with the date and then we discuss pickup time at the end. And then like weddings are delivery. So if it's a wedding, then I'll confirm up like their ceremony starts because we like to set up about an hour and a half before the ceremony or like be there to set up so we're out before any of the guests come in so we're not in the way and it's kind of just seamless. So
Right, right. And has there ever been what was I'll say what was the biggest wedding cake you've had to do?
I think the biggest wedding cake I've ever had to do was 7 tiers.
7 tiers?
Yeah, and I was
Oh my
literally like
god.
tippy toes. I mean, I'm not tall. Anyone who knows me knows that I am short, but I'm like on a step, so like tippy toes trying to put this like top layer on. It was this huge like square base with like a round, and it was incredible. That was a turning stone, and it was like over the top and embellished. It had like all this lace applique and these like beads and flowers and
Oh,
peacock feathers. It was it was incredible.
oh my god, I'm sweating listening to this. Sounds like it's just so like you on the very tippy toes, like one slip, you fall into the cake.
But that's I had one of the girls from the bakery there like holding me like we're good. We're good.
You got you're on somebody else's shoulders, and then they're on somebody else's shoulders. It's like a triple tier human cake, basically.
Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest difference between working for like Turning Stone versus like your bakery?
Control over what we get to offer. So
Mm.
like I do not like doing fondant covered cakes. So I don't offer them on my menu because
What is it about?
I don't feel like I do a good job. And a lot of
Ah,
people don't like the flavor to begin with. So I feel like I do a really nice buttercream cake, or like a semi-naked cake, something like that, with like either the gum paste flowers or the floral like buttercream decorations and piping. But for me, fondant, I don't work well with it, and I don't like it. So that's something that I never really wanted to continue doing.
a fondant is one of those weird ones. You eat it and it's either hit or miss, and more times
Yeah,
it's miss. Right?
there
More
is
times
a
I'm just
real
peeling that off anyway.
brand, but
And then you guys even do like different. These look like ice cream cake pops.
oh yeah, those are really cute, and I just got an order for those later this month.
I think I can even share my screen. I'm looking at your Instagram while you're talking because I got some macaroons. Hold on, I think I can do a window. Yeah, perfect. Haha. There. So anybody that's watching right now, you can actually look at the screen. You see her Instagram. Like these cakes are phenomenal. That is so like this one. This is the one we were talking about. That's a cake
They're
pop.
so yeah, so those are cake pops, so we take cake and we mix them with buttercream, and then we, like, put them in this mold, and then you put a little, popsicle stick in, and then you dip them in chocolate and decorate them.
Oh my god, those have to be so much fun to make.
They are. Well, so Emily, one of our girls who works out front, she primarily does them, and
Uh,
sometimes she is cake popped out, and she's like, "I don't wanna do them anymore. I'm done."
because it could be definitely repetitive, especially when you get an order
Yeah.
of like you get how many in an order? Like what, like 20?
Yeah, normally, like, 2 dozen is typical. We did, like, hundreds of them for the holidays, so
Dang. Oh my god, a Yoshi cake? You guys could literally do anything.
anything. And so, like, that was, like, hand cut out. We use, let's print off, like, a picture of Yoshi and then roll out the fondant and cut out each layer and then layer it to make that.
Oh my god, that's so cool. So, then I guess my next question, what is your favorite one of these things to make? Is it the cake pop? Is it the cakes? Is it the macaroons?
I
Like,
love really
what?
pretty wedding cakes, like, really, like, romantic, things with, like, gum paste flowers or scroll piping, anything that's, like, really creative and pretty, I guess.
That was pretty.
And yeah,
This
so
one, it
that's
looks like it's got, like,
actually
slopes.
that's Lauren's wedding cake. So she got
Oh,
married
that's
this past
awesome.
weekend, and I went up to Placid and built it up there, and I was, like, in her wedding and also setting up the cake.
Oh my god, that must have been wild.
It was amazing.
And then I even got, yeah, in your website too. You guys have some really oh, like this one, right? This is like a
Yep.
pretty wedding cake.
Yes.
That's like that is so cool, the design out so, like, when you are making the cake for somebody's wedding, do you show them examples of, like, these cakes that you've made and to try to find, like because I can't imagine somebody's gonna come to you and say, "I want a bottom tier pink, top tier white lace." Or I don't know, maybe that
So
does happen.
that is kinda what happens. Typically, people will look for pictures. I did update, like, our whole website with all of our different, like, cakes that we did last year and stuff I've done in the past to kind of give the customers, like, at least a somewhere to start with. We obviously do things that are custom, but, a lot of times it's really helpful to have them, like, be like, "Oh, this is what I'm going for," like, textured buttercream or smooth buttercream, things like that.
Gotcha. God, there's so many different, like, techniques involved in this too. So
Yes.
many different, like you even have, like you have the macaroon and, like, this gold leaf on the outside?
Yeah, so it's edible gold dust, and we mix it with vodka, and then we brush it onto the cake.
Whoa, that sounds like a good time. Yeah, like, your website has, like, the custom cakes and wow, that's so cool. Man, it's really impressive stuff, like, how talented you are, and I would even call you, like, literally artist, right? Like,
Yeah, it's
that is
definitely
what
an
you're
art
doing.
form, we just use a different medium.
You just eat edible media, that's all.
Yep.
That's funny. That is so cool. So, like, now that you guys are starting to expand your business, is there other, like, things that you wanna branch out into, like other different types of sweets?
Um, Not really, I like having our staples and doing what we do and doing it well,
Yeah.
um, and we try to, like, expand on what we have and offer different flavors and things like that. If we did anything, if we delved into anything new, I feel like it would be entremets, which is, like, a really, like, upscale kind of pastry where it has, like, a bunch of different layers and textures and things, and then they're glazed and they're really beautiful. Um, but those take a little bit of time, so
That's kinda like next level, you think?
yeah, definitely.
Gotcha. Now, what is one piece of equipment that you wish you had in your bakery?
If we could fit it in the bakery, a fondant sheeter probably to, like, roll out different things when we're cutting out decorations and stuff would be nice, because we
Mm.
roll everything out by hand, and you can also use it for, like, sugar cookie dough, which is it would be really
Mm.
helpful. We had one of those at Turning Stone, and it was amazing,
That's
but
like that's like dream equipment in the bakery?
Yeah, just because it makes life so much easier and it rolls it out consistently. They're the same thickness and stuff like that.
And you don't have to worry about inconsistency, thickness, basically.
Yeah, and for us though, we do kind of, get around that because we use wooden dowels, and so we'll put the 2 of them on the table and then use the rolling pin over top so that we get the same
Mm,
consistent size every time.
right. How do you still learn all these cool new techniques? Are you just experimenting, or are you collaborating with
So
other bakers?
with the baking industry, we do talk to each other a lot. I've learned a lot just from the different jobs I've had, and then honestly, watching people on social media. Like
Mm.
that's a huge tool for us seeing different techniques and the tutorial videos and things like that. And I love books. I have so many books.
Ah, cookbooks are your go-to.
Yes.
Gotcha. Well, as social media, like that is how you blew up on Instagram because you're so talented. Like people just started following you all over the place, and I think that's probably why like you seek to social media is because of how many people flock to you. So you got so many great resources that you can follow back and watch.
Yeah, it's awesome, and the social media, it helped a lot when we opened the business because I felt like it was so easy to get, like, our name out there and to promote ourselves, and I already had, like, a following and a clientele, so that was incredible and was
Uh,
so helpful.
yeah, this one's from your personal
For
page.
my
Look at all
personal
this.
yeah.
Like this is
I
so
have
crazy.
I, like, barely update my personal page now, I'm, like because I run the business Instagram, so I'm constantly, like, trying to get stuff on there, so every once in a while, I'll get a few things that I like to put on mine.
Yeah, like this, what is that technique looks like it's almost like smeared blended
Yeah.
watercolors.
So it's like a palette painted cake. Those were really popular the last couple of years, and I love them. I think they're beautiful, and that's like those are one of my favorite things to do.
Wow, that is so cool. It's just really cool because like I don't have the famous unicorn cake. People love
Oh
those
my god,
unicorn cakes now.
so many. Yes, that was a huge fad for like I don't know, like 3 or 4 years. We just
Yeah.
they've lived on.
The fads come and go even in baking.
Yes, it's interesting because it does kind of change things up, and then you get to do like a million of them, so you get
And then
really
you're
good
like,
at
"Oh
it.
my god, when will this go? When will this
Yep.
pass?" That's funny. And when you get these opportunities to like do different cakes, do you usually kind of like stick to what you know, or are you like, here's a challenge for me to try something out of the box?
Um, so it's kind of both ways. So, like, a lot of times I'll like to do things kind of how I know how to do them, but it's always good to like grow and like try new things. But it's really difficult. Sometimes people will bring us pictures and be like, I want this exact cake. And it's
Mm,
like from someone completely different. And I'm like, okay, but I'm a different artist. So, like, how I do it and interpret it, it's going to be a little different. So, that's the only like thing where it's a little more difficult.
right, right. And you said something earlier too, though. I thought was really cool that like a lot of the bakers and stuff are always talking to each other and helping each other out. That is really kind of like refreshing to hear, only because you would think like, oh, there's another bakery down the street and they sell macaroons. Screw those guys. But you're like, no, I we help each other out and we do the thing.
There's more than enough business to go around, and honestly, we suggest people to the places that are around us because we know that they do a good job, and we know the client's gonna be happy, and, like, in the end, you're only helping other bakeries and helping the customers, so you
Right.
end up with a good experience. Like, we send tons of people to Ginger Snap, we'll send people to Cupcakers down the road, and they're, like, a mile down the road. But we
Oh,
still like, if we can't take something, it's good to know that we have bakeries that we're like, "Yeah, these guys do an awesome job too."
yeah. And how have you like met those kind of people? Is it just from you're like, oh, let's go take a walk and go check this place out. They're around the corner.
So yes and no. Like I've definitely made a point to go to like a bunch of the bakeries that are local and but kind of working at Turning Stone and like working in the area, you end up working with the people who end up at these shops.
Hmm.
So like Kelsey who owns Ginger Snap worked at Turning Stone with me. And
Yep.
then Tasha, who works with us, had worked at Cupcakers before too. So I like when they first opened, I went there because she was there, and it was like incredible to see them. They had like a line, and it was amazing. But like, and then so I met Amy, who's the owner there, and then Amberly, who used to work with me at Half Moon, she works there now, and so like everyone kind of changes and ends up everywhere in Syracuse.
That's cool though. It's good to see like a sense of community within like a certain group of people. It's just nice to it's refreshing to hear that you guys aren't like at each other's throats for stuff, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure we're all competitive in our own ways, but we're here to support each other. It doesn't do anyone good to be nasty or competitive, and so
Makes the world a better place, right?
yes.
Now, if you could pick one like celebrity baker to cook with, who would it be? Because I imagine if you have a collection of cookbooks, you probably have a bunch from like one amazing baker.
So, well, I've actually taken a class with her, but Maggie Austin is amazing. She does sugar flour work, and I went down a couple years ago and took one of her classes. It was incredible. She is like the nicest person. She's so humble, but she is like, so incredibly talented. But if I could work for her, like if I didn't own my own shop and I could work for her, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Do you was it was like a seminar she put on?
Yeah, so it was a week-long intensive, and we went in and we basically made, all of these different flowers, and then we arranged them, and it was meant to mimic, like, these I think it was, like, English paintings of, like, flowers and, like, fruit, and
That's
so it
cool.
was really neat.
You learned some new techniques from going to like one of those seminars. That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you go to a lot of different seminars?
Um, no, I'd like to go to more. There is, like, this pastry academy out in Las Vegas that I'd love to take classes at, which
Mm.
I know I'm not gonna be able to pronounce his name correct, but it's, like, Omri, and he has, like,
Uh,
a Netflix show, and he does chocolate work, and it's
oh,
incredible.
it's that chocolate
Um
guy on
Yeah,
Netflix. He is
yes,
it like
yes, yes.
the cooking show where it's like they're more like in a school? It's like a
Yes.
chocolate school.
It's like School of Chocolate, I think it's called.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. Yep. Yep. There it
Yep.
is. Yeah. No,
So
that's so talent. When I see people like that, people like you, like making with those cakes, the chocolates, the bread, like all these things, it's such a cool, unique medium that you don't think are ways to express yourself. Does that make sense? Like you
yeah.
wouldn't think like cake decorating is a good way to have an artistic, creative side of you, but you look at these cakes, you're like, oh my god, how can this like look cherry blossom cake like that's freaking beautiful. That is a piece of work like that.
Yep.
Now when you see
I love
this,
cake.
when you see somebody like cut into it, does it hurt your soul a little bit?
No, I think that's the funniest thing that people come in and say, they're like, "Oh, no, it's too beautiful to eat," and I'm like, "No." Like, "Take a picture and then eat it because it's just as good."
Yeah, because you want people to eat it. You don't want people to be like, nah, never mind.
Yep, but it means a lot when people, like, appreciate the beauty of the things.
Well, no, it's really cool because you're very talented. Especially, it's really cool because we met each other. Oh my god, when we played frisbee together was what like 2010, 12 years ago.
Yeah, well, where was I? I was at Turning Stone, so it might have been, like, 2011, 2013?
Yeah, and it's just so cool to see like it really is like you said earlier. Like you are getting better and better and better every time you're baking, and as well as the other bakers in your bakery. It's really cool to see because it's a unique medium that I don't think many people can can do. Like, oh my I just keep looking at pictures. I should not look at the pictures and focus at you. I'm sorry, I'm getting hungry.
No,
I
you're
picked up
fine.
a bunch of I've got like an assorted box of 10 macaroons that I'm saving for dessert. But those cupcakes though, they might not make it to dessert tonight. They might not make it to dessert. So,
Well, good.
a lot of the stuff that you put in the cooler that is, like, overstock of people who had, like, ordered something?
Yeah, so we'll basically, like, make extra with it being in mind that we're putting it in the case, and
Right.
honestly, the stuff that's in the case is mostly the team and not a lot of my work, so that
Mm,
beauty comes from them.
right, right. Do you have any regulars? Do you have people who come in, like, every Sunday for a box?
Yeah, so we have a lot of different regulars, and a lot of them are part of our macaroon club, which we do the first Friday of every month. So we'll
Okay.
do like 4 different like seasonal macaroons or whatever, like themed macaroons. And
Whoa.
so we see a lot of our regulars there, but we do have people we see every week. We see the library ladies like a couple times a week. We love them. But yeah,
Oh,
and
hold
it's
on.
really
This
nice.
macaroon club? What is
Yeah.
that about? Like, is that a monthly subscription? You get a loot box sent to your to your house?
Yeah, so what actually happened was around Christmas, I think it was the first year we were open. I have a regular Amy, and her mom came in and said, "Hey, I want to get a gift. I want it to be something. Maybe she can come in and get something every month that's like a little different." And I had previously talked like with my friends about it, about doing like a macaroon subscription box because you see all these different subscription boxes of people wanting to kind of get something new and fun every month. And so
Right.
I was like, this is a perfect like time to do this. So we set it up. We did it for her, and then people heard about it and they're like, oh, what's this? And so we ended up getting like 50 people for this macaron of the month club, which has we did again this year. But it's fun and it gets people in the door and like we get to see them and they enjoy it and I don't know, it's nice.
Okay, so how does somebody become a part of this club?
We typically like you'll email us, then we would do add you to the list, and then you just pay for the
Mm,
year. That way, sometimes people just want to come and grab their box and get out because they're like
ah,
doing errands or whatever. So we try to
right.
make that as easy as possible.
Nice. Now, you said they're all it's like a different rotating flavors?
Yeah, so it's two different types of macaroons, two of each. So you get four macaroons in the little box.
Okay, so how do you figure out what flavors to do?
Um, so a lot of time it's discussion with the team because the first year it was super easy and I always want to do like something different and fun and I was like, I have no idea. I'm like, what do you guys think? And they're like, so then we brainstorm and come up with like some fun things and like the last month Emily was like, we should do something like berry sweet because we had these little chocolate bears that we put on the
Oh,
macaroons and the Valentine's one. So it was cute.
that's cool. So it's like a team collaboration.
Yeah.
Okay, then what's your favorite macaroon? What's Kaylee's favorite macaroon?
The raspberry macaroons
Oh
with
my
just the
god.
raspberry jam.
Now, macaroons are hard to make, correct?
Yeah, they are very sensitive. You kinda have to know what you're doing, but once you have a good system down and you know how to make them, it you can make them consistently.
What makes them so difficult? Is it just that they're very sensitive?
So you have to have well, you definitely have to use a convection oven. I don't have luck making them at home in a conventional oven. So convection oven rotates the air, within the oven and makes it bake evenly. And then, um, so it's cooking the sugar, doing the egg whites, and, like, whipping them and making the meringue, but not over whipping it, because if you over whip it, then they deflate, and you get these little air pockets, and
Oh,
then
you have to whip it
mixing
a lot to get the
yep.
meringue. You don't
They
wanna
make
do
fun
too
of me
much.
because I'm like, "Okay, but you want it bubbly, but, like, not too bubbly, and you also wanna stream it in, but then you can only let it whip for this long, but if it's not ready, then you have to whip it a little longer." And so my Tasha makes so much fun of me. It's hilarious. But then, like, when you're folding in the last, bit of the meringue and you're folding the batter at the end, you can't overmix it because if you do it, they, like, spread out. So
That's what gives them the like, the rounded shape, and then there's, the outside crust, right? There's
yep,
a
the little
feet.
foot.
See, I knew it. I knew it. I only knew that because we had, when, my wife and I, we went, to France on our honeymoon, we had macaroons, and the guy was, like, telling us all about this jam, and look at the feet on this bad boy. This one's delish this is a good one right here. Like, like he was giving us the whole spiel on it. I don't know why I remember, it's kinda random. Um but yeah, I wasn't sure if it was a misconception that they're really hard to make or if it's, like, legitimately very difficult to make.
Yeah, and I've had the recipe since, god, before I was at Sugar& and Company downtown because that's where I first started making them. And each place that I have gone, I have had to rework the recipe because different, like, just environmental factors and how the different ovens behave and stuff like that.
Do you have, like, any family recipes that you use? Like, you have any bakers in your family?
No, I don't actually.
So
So, my
you get to
family
pass
has,
on
like
some awesome recipes.
to my staff, I don't actually plan on having, like, kids or anything like that.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, you still have family members you can pass those delicious recipes
Yeah,
on to.
maybe one day my brother will get all the recipes.
Yeah, right? Do if you're gonna have all the recipes, you might as well put them in a cookbook. Are we ever gonna see Kaylee's macaroon cookbook?
I'd love to have a cookbook someday, but probably after we get, like, a little I mean, we're established, but I'd like to have a couple more years under our belt to really come up with, like, our staples and our signatures.
Do you think it would be like a macaroon focused book or a cake
I
focused book?
think it would be a cake and macaroon, just like a it would be like a Sugar Blossom Cake Shop book, so
That would be awesome. That would be so cool. Because
eh,
what chef doesn't want a cool? a cool cookbook.
Yeah, even just to say like, "Oh, I have this. It's mine."
Yeah, and also, like, all your cakes, Kaylee, are, like, book worthy, like, magazine worthy, like, these are really good cakes, like, they belong in a nice like, I see a nice, like, coffee table book, you know what I
Yes.
mean, with all the sweet pictures and, like, the recipe and the breakdowns and everything. So when, you started Sugar Blossom, what was it that made you wanna even name it Sugar Blossom?
So we got the name from the sugar flowers or the gum paste flowers that, we put on the cakes because that's what we wanted to kinda be our signature thing, and it was kind of unique. I don't know, that was just one of my passions, so
That's cool. Did you come up with that name with Lauren, or was it just like, "We are so good with these, this is we gotta name it that."
we kinda brainstormed and then kinda landed on that, I think, after going back and forth.
Nice, that is so cool. That it seems like, especially having a business with a good friend, seems like it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it
I'm
definitely is, and we've always been super supportive, and I don't know, it's been really nice.
I'm trying to imagine me running a bakery with Mike, and I feel like it would be the best job of my life. I feel like I would have so much fun. It would just give me an excuse to hang out with him all day.
Yep. You do end up running out of stories. I will say, like, when we first started and it was just us 2, because we started and we were like, "Yeah, we're gonna open this bakery with no staff. We're gonna be able to run it ourselves. We're gonna do cakes primarily, and we're not gonna have a ton of business in the front. It'll be fine." We quickly learned that that was not the case, and I think 2 weeks after we opened, had to hire staff. Um, so that was then we hired, like, a part-time counter person and a part-time person to help us in the back. And then by January, we were like, "All right, that's it. We need a full-time front person. Like, we need someone out here all the time because we need to focus on the baking." But the more and more we worked together, we'd come in and be like, "I don't have anything to talk about." Like, we've talked about everything,
Right.
and we're
Right.
here. We're together all the time.
60 hours a week together in a bakery all the time.
Yep.
How many people do you have working for you?
We have 6.
6. That I was imagining like it would be like 10 or 12 people.
No, I feel like I mean, the kitchen is really tiny. And so the only way we would really be able to expand, I guess, would be to have, like, a night shift, which I'm
Mm,
not super keen on right now.
yeah.
Um, but
It
if
seems
we
like
wanted to
bakeries are usually up super early in the morning. Do you have that same thing, or is it with cakes is probably something different?
so our baker goes in at 4, and then I
AM?
typically
4 AM.
yes, 4 AM.
Wow. Oof.
We go in at 4 AM on Saturdays because we open at 8, but because we open at 10 during the week, I'm in at 6, and then I'm there till, like, normally 4, sometimes I close, so I'm there till 6. Um, but yeah.
Mm, gotcha. Wow, that's those 4 AM shift, that is no joke.
No, it's some people like it though, like, I don't think I would mind it if I did it consistently, but since I vary it, it's a little more difficult.
Right. And like with you varying the schedule, does that help with a better work-life balance for you?
Yeah, so it's nice because, like, I'll go in, I'll work, like, 6 to 4, and then I'll be able to come home and, like, run. I try to run. I'm running with a team, for this
Oh,
season,
nice.
so we're training for races with miles to macros, so,
Oh, nice.
but yeah, it helps a lot having a schedule that kinda fluctuates, and then, like, we do D&D on Saturdays now, so
Nice.
which during the wedding season, I'm sure that'll change a little.
Yeah. So every Saturday night you guys play D&D?
Yeah, we try, when people's schedules aren't conflicting.
Right. It's your does your husband or boyfriend, fiance, does he's the DM, right?
Yeah, Paul is my husband, and he's the DM.
Yes. Yes, I followed him on Instagram because Mike was like, "Dude, did you see the setup that Kaylee's husband did? You need to check out." He like really like sets up environments and stuff too, right?
And he loves it, and he just started getting into it this year, but he does an awesome job, and it's so much fun for him.
That's cool. That are you guys running a specific campaign, or is he just like homebrewing stuff?
So I think he adds a little bit of homebrew in, but I think we're doing a campaign, Princes of the Apocalypse or something.
Whoa, that sounds cool. That
Yeah,
sounds cool.
so
How many people
it's
are at
fun.
the table?
So now it's 4 of us playing because we added David.
Oh, David's playing?
Yeah, it's
Dave
awesome.
plays with you?
Yes, he does.
Oh, that's so funny. After the D&D event, Dave played with you
Yeah.
guys, and now he plays at the house with you guys. That's amazing.
It was nice to have because, like, it was just 3 of us, which was kind of hard, like, to play with just 3, and then it was nice to add, like, a guy to the group, and he adds, like, a little bit more, like, banter, and it's fun, so
Uh, Dave is also one of the kindest people I have ever most kindest, genuine people I think I've ever met in my life, and I think he is, like, a fantastic D&D player. He
he
is
is.
so
He
he's just like
loves, like,
himself.
getting into it and, like, playing the character, and we all like doing that too, so it's perfect.
That's so cool. That blows my mind. I love to hear that you guys are, like, after the event, you guys were playing together now.
Yep. It
Oh
was
my
like after
god.
then, we're talking with him, and we're like, "Oh, you should come play with us."
Oh my god, that's so awesome. That makes my heart so warm. I love that. I love Dave so much. He's such a good dude, and he's awesome. That's so cool. And when you guys play, do it's you said it was 3 girls, Dave
And
and
then Paul's the DM. Yep.
your husband the DM, and does he usually like do the whole environment, like set up pieces and stuff?
It depends on what we're doing. If it's like a big battle, that's when he tends to set up the table. Otherwise, we run it on Foundry.
Oh, nice. Yep.
So, and then like I feel like we weren't really using that much this weekend because it was kind of just an interactive like role playing session.
Yeah, sometimes it's just like some sessions you go into, it's like no combat, story
Yep.
doesn't progress too far, everybody's just RPing and kind of giggling the whole
Goofing
time.
around. Yeah, that's pretty much what it was last night.
Right. And like, is that part of like the D&D night? Is that how you have like a good work life balance? Like, how important is that to you? Or are you just like a workaholic and you just work all the time?
I'm 1,000% a workaholic, but I love having like that time carved out to like spend with him and my friends. And like as much as I do work a lot, like when I am home at night, I feel like I value the time that I get with him more, and I kind of like just wind down. Like D&D is like so nice where I can just like sit back and enjoy it and not really think about anything else.
Yeah, right. It's not Kayleigh's time to have to plan a whole meal for
Yeah.
for a whole wedding party. You just get to be a an elf cleric that you don't have to. What are you playing?
I am a draconic sorcerer.
Oh my god, I love that. What is Dave playing?
He is. Oh my god, I'm gonna get it wrong. He's gonna watch this. Uh, he's Olga, but and Clarence, but I don't remember what they are. I want to say they're an orc, and I'm so sorry if I'm wrong.
It's okay. He won't be upset. And then you have Sherry, right? Sherry Tuttle.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, she's a barbarian, so she's a gnome barbarian.
Oh, that's so cool. That's sweet. And is the fourth person Lauren? That'd be
No,
pretty sweet.
no, Lauren's not into D&D and stuff like
Okay.
that.
Okay.
We play with our other friend Kate, and she is a cleric.
It was Kate the one that went to the D&D
Yes.
night?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, perfect. That's so funny. Yeah, I grew up with Sherry's brother Steve. We
Oh
graduated
yeah.
together from CNS, and my grandmother used to babysit me and my sister, who lived kitty corner around from Steve and Sherry. So we
Oh,
used to
that's so
always hang out.
funny.
I know, and
Yeah.
I stopped. I like after we graduated, I just haven't seen Sherry forever, and then she came up to me at Three Lives, and I was like, Sherry, oh my god, it's so nice to see you. It's so cool to see like even 15 years later, everybody's doing well and also enjoying
Yeah.
D&D.
I've known Sherry and Kate since, like yep. I've known them for a really long time, like, since, like, early high school. I've known Sherry a little bit longer, but we've kinda stuck together, and it's nice to hang out still.
Man, that's so cool. I could say I totally forgot you guys played Dungeons and Dragons too. I could have gone off on a whole tangent about that too. This was Kayleigh, this was a lot of fun and I learned so much about your bakery. I love those cupcakes so much that you made for
Oh,
us and the
good.
cake. It was just so delicious. Like you blew me away. You really are like an artist, for real.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah. I would just want to say thanks for doing this and spending an hour of your day to shoot the shit about your shop and D&D.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It was fun, and I don't know, it was awesome.
Something a little different, right? Am I your first podcast?
I've been on one other podcast, but it was a while ago. It hasn't been since I've owned the bakery, so.
Okay, so there we go. You heard it first. Kaleigh, thank you. I appreciate you very much.
All right, well, thank you.